Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So, if you have already updated, you'll know that there's a lot of new banners, and so in tonight's episode of Should You Summon, we'll discuss the different banners, as well as my thoughts about Orleya, Miyu, as well as my potential suggestions for the Star Dream encounter if you decide to use those. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So let's get this out of the way. We'll go with the Star Dream encounter specifically. And this is the best banner out there for your buck. I mean, the Twin Destinies is pretty good in that you get 2 5-stars. However, this one is a 5-star selector. Those don't come very often, a few times a year. It is a paid banner, so it costs 1,000 paid stones or your Heaven subscription ticket. Note that you do have a month before needing to buy it. So if you chose to not buy it, you actually do have 30 days to kind of do your thing and so on and so forth. And once you activate it, you also have 30 additional days to choose your Star Dream unit, which is your selector. And I'll discuss why you might want to do that. Keep in mind that this Star Dream is available for all the units up to this current version, including Orleya as well as Miyu. Otherwise, the normal part of the Star Dream is that you summon on a normal 10 pull with no increased odds. So you can see that the 5-stars as well as 4-stars are pretty much low, 0.02, 0.03, and so forth. On the 10th pull, obviously it's uprated, being that they guarantee a 4-star normal or better on the 10th pull. No guarantees on the 5-star, keep that in mind. As usual, you can see that extra style Miyu should be here. Let's see if I can find her. I know she's here because they said she would be. Oh, probably down here. Okay, Athena. Okay, there you can see it right there. And of course, normal bots, Rainbow Sister, and Knights. And you can see in the Star Dreams piece, all the units are available, including Orleya as well as, guess what? Miyu. Alright, so, obviously, should you summon? Yes, you should summon if you're willing to spend money on the game. If you're a light spender, yes, you should break out your wallet to spend on this. Or you can even do something like buy 4,000 paid stones, use 1,000 specifically on the Star Dream, and then save your 3,000 stones for the next Star Dream, if you're ultra light spending. If you're a light spender and you just kind of want to dabble here and there, Star Dreams are still really, really great. And of course, for heavy spenders, why not? You can add 16 light or shadow to the unit of your choice. Now, first of all, I will get into Orleya and Miyu later. I will say that as for Star Dreams, obviously a Star Dream is, because it's a selector, it will be used to either fill a hole on your roster, or is to fill, like as in you're missing the unit, or you really just want the unit which will help you save chance treatises, codexes, or opuses in terms of farming those. In general, though, we recommend not using a Star Dream except for obviously picking a unit you have no form of, being that if you're free to play or even a light spender, you're better off farming the required materials, which is chance, treatises, codexes, opuses, and so on and so forth, in order to unlock it that way and save the Star Dream for a unit you don't have any form of. Alright, so without further ado, my suggestions for a Star Dream, again, not knowing anything else about your account, because obviously we have viewers on this channel who are at the new game, obviously less than a month, for example. Let's just say early end game, anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and then end game and a veteran of the game, obviously in the 2 to 3 year range. And of course, your targets will be much different in terms of Star Dreams. So let's quickly start off with again, knowing that I don't know what you have. In no particular order, although the first 3 you can debate which ones you want first. You will go with Eva or Flamelopus, and then after that I would say something along the lines of Pizzica as your primary singer. I know there are other singers out there and we can argue the pros and cons, but I feel that Pizzica kind of gives you the best mix of that kind of defensive type and offensive type singer out there. And then we have units that can be used in any element and elemental zones, such as RCF, Red Clad Flamemancer, or Nakoko. We have, and then after that, now you can start deciding on units you want to kind of round out your team. Things like, for example, there's still Melissa or A.S. Hardy, your Flash Right stance. You can argue that other high-end zone-type units, such as AS Miyu would be next, and other zone-type units that you may want to use. Ultra Tuva, I would actually argue that of all the zone-type units, Violet Lancer would probably be among the top picks in terms of zone-type units, and I'll explain that shortly. Okay, so if you're wondering why, in general, those are my picks. First of all, we'll talk about Eva versus Flam, and just quickly my thoughts about it. If you're new to the game, or if you're a veteran of the game, Flam can grow along with you and your roster. What I mean by that is, if you're new to the game and you get Flam, all you have to do is press Neptune. And for those who don't have Flam, you don't know how much it's enjoyable to just press Neptune and Neptune everything away. For those who don't know, Neptune is one of her AoE attacks. It is not free MP, but however, it is 3000 mod. And keep in mind that if Flam is in your front line, you get a preemptive break at the start of battle. So as long as she's faster than everyone else, one Neptune usually wipes everything out. And I'm talking everything, even up to my level of endgame, where I'm basically fighting all the endgame dungeons. You can argue some horrors, and so on and so forth. Even super bosses, you've seen many videos using Flam out there. They also obviously feature Eva, because Eva and Flam work very, very, very well together. Both of them are water mages. They complement each other. Eva has, I would say, just as powerful a role, although a little bit different. So what I mean by that is that keep in mind that obviously Flam can be used for endgame bosses as well. If you choose Eva over Flam, I would argue that your farming in the beginning of the game would be okay. One advantage of Flam is that Flam actually has a 0 MP cost farming. So for just ease of use, she is great. She also has the dual debuff and other things we don't need to talk about. In terms of Eva, she may seem a little bit less powerful in terms of her raw damage. However, the fact that she has access to 2 zones, she can apply break throughout the game. She can attack up to 4 times when the enemy is above 858% MP. Not to mention, she's one of the few units that can solo clear many different types of content. There are many videos out there. I believe one of our YouTube channels, 7th Archangel, really did pioneer using Eva as a solo clear for many, many units, of which I've tried as well. Manifest fights, she can clear them solo. There's a lot of things she can do, and just like Flam, if you get her in the beginning, you can use her in the beginning, in the mid game, in the end game, and extreme end game, where you will be crushing bosses left, right, and center with Eva. So, in conclusion, quickly, if you're choosing between Eva and Flam because you have neither, Flam, I would recommend if you really want to, if your troubles or you want to enjoy the game more casually and you really just dislike farming, you want to make your life easy for all story content and just kind of like, just blast everything away with a single Neptune or her 0 MP farming the other one, she's the unit for you. And keep in mind, she's no slouch in endgame. If you want a little bit more advanced unit that can really mess around with mechanics, you can really do some crazy things, high damage, extremely useful in all stages of the game as well. A little bit more complex, I would say. I think Eva would be your choice. So between the two, really your playstyle, but both would be perfect choices as a 1-2 punch. Now, third on the list, we did talk about our singers. Pizzica, I think, is still, like I said, you can dislike or disagree with my assessment, but I feel that if you're new to the game or you're early on, Pizzica is very straightforward in using. You can either use her Oratorio, which can reduce damage by 50%, much less healing at the end of turn, status recovery, and so on and so forth, or you can just straight out go all damage with something like Rhapsody Aria, which doubles your damage straight out. That means 100% more damage, and apply break at the beginning of every turn. Keep in mind that that means quad damage, right? Break does double for a single hit, of course, and 100% damage is 100% damage. That's on top of all the other modifiers you get. So again, if you use Oratorio as a defense, you probably can beat all the main story. And you can carry yourself through many of the earlier and mid-range super boss fights out there. Even in endgame, many of us veterans can use Pizzica to really help us win the fights against super crazy bosses that apply either multiple status or just the fact you need double damage to kind of just pass that HP stopper. Pizzica will be great for you. I've used it most recently against, for example, Sophie and some other super bosses out there. Now, in terms of the two other singers, AS Milsha and AS Mysteria, they are great and have their own advantages and disadvantages. I just think that unless you are looking for a more advanced kind of tactics, I think Pizzica is an all-around great unit, not to mention her number one Pierce support in the fact that increased Pierce damage by 60% and increased crit damage for all physical attacks by 60%. Can't go wrong there. Now, next up, like I said, Violet Lancer. I think she is great, not only because she can VC in an Earth Zone, she can apply Break with a high mod Pierce, she can lock in zone with another zone, if she's in the front line, all your units are 0 MP. So again, remember I'm looking at this from a point of view of either new to the game all the way up to advanced tactics from endgame users. So at the for all points of the game, 0 MP farming with your Violet Lancer in front, no brainer. You can just blast them with the most powerful attacks and you win. In the case of boss fights, she can apply Break, which will help you win. She can lock in another zone, which will help you win. She has dual debuff of 30-30, which will help you win. She also has something called Overthrow. While in another zone, she increases your team's damage against enemies that are higher level than you. So again, help you win. Yeah, very, very versatile, useful in all stages of the game. And I believe when she VCs in, she also attacks. So for those who have limited teams that can't clear mobs, just VCing in will probably do enough damage to kill everything too. So there is a huge advantage of using her. And of course, rounding out the last few that I've talked about, RCF as well as Nakoko. They are two of the only units that are viable. I know that the Melody's out there, or is it Cynthia? Sorry, Cynthia's out there. I don't recommend using Cynthia. No one's using Cynthia, unfortunately, unless she gets a Manifest or AS. RCF and Nakoko change their attacks to the element zone that you're in. So in the case of the newest Thunder Zone, aka ES Miyu or Orleya, RCF and Nakoko will be perfect complementary pieces to any elemental zone unit, either in Thunder Zone, or in Fire Zone, or in Earth Zone, or blah, 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 blah. And the difference between the two, RCF is a much more offensively minded unit, which does weapon type damage up, locks in another zone. He also has a special ability that increases another zone length of time by 2 moves, or 2 turns. Very, very, very powerful. Also has physical defense 50%. In the case of Nakoko, a little bit more defensive minded, however, has a 3000 heal in Elemental Zone, has a shield, dual shield, and other things as well. So depending on what you want, pluses or minuses, both of those are great additions. And finally, the last couple of people I'll mention, Flash Strike stance users such as AS Hardy or Melissa. Melissa would probably be the preferred of the two if you still need something to round out. Now, I would say that nowadays, Melissa is definitely lower in the ranks than before, and the reason why is because before, you had very few units that can do a one-turn AF. Nowadays, you have access to Grass that can do one-turn AF, and I realize that's endgame content only, but you also have units like Cyan Scyther, which can activate a zone with a move, or Orleya, which can activate a zone with a move, in which case you're doing a one-turn elemental AF, and you really don't have to worry too much about using something like Melissa to kind of whatever it, right? So Melissa can still tie things in. She does have Flash Strike, and Flash Strike does enhance or lengthen your AF for the first turn to set up all your buffs and debuffs, but at the end of the day, being that there's other options out there, she has fallen down a little bit. The advantage of her specifically, she can still tie in a lot of units together when you have a mixed match of units. For example, you can put a Pierce, a Fist, a Slash, all those units together on your team, your most powerful DPS, and just activate a large AF. And so Melissa and AS Hardy both can do that. Still viable. However, I think the other units I mentioned first might be very, very more viable, especially for, like I said, depending on what niches and what kind of overall use. So when I evaluate these kind of Star Dream things, I'm trying to help you all pick a unit based on the greatest need, the most uses, and the length of time that it can be used. I don't see, for example, Flam and Eva being surpassed anytime in the next few months, for example. And finally, other zone setters such as AF Mufa are honorable mentions. They're still very powerful. But like I said, the first few I mentioned were probably the ones I would suggest if I don't know anything about your team. And if you're near the end game anyways, you probably only have a couple of roster differences that you're missing, in which case, just Star Dream the one you're missing. So hopefully that gives you some insight into some of the choices and decision-making trees I would use. Okay, let's just quickly go through. I know that was very long already. We only have one other banner to talk about other than the Fateful one, so we'll go with the Fateful first. Obviously 3 times max. If you're a spender and you want this unit, this is pretty good value. You have 2 chances to hit the featured unit, either 10% of one or 10% of the other. Flat 10% chance on pull 10, otherwise 0.8% 1s to 9. And keep in mind you can get both if you're lucky on through pulls 1 to 9 before getting the pull 10 upgraded banner. Keep in mind that all Fatefuls do have every unit in the game, but if you're a spender and you want Orleya or ES Miyu, this is a great chance. You get double the odds, essentially 10 plus 10, as opposed to before where one featured unit would only be on the Fateful. And then finally, my thoughts and opinions about Orleya as well as ES Miyu. So I did talk about their moves a little bit in yesterday's patch notes update, but just quickly, both of these are Thunder Zone setters. Orleya would probably be the preferred of the two, being she has completely new form. She can preemptively set Thunder Zone with a move, not a VC, so she can 1-turn AF with Thunder Zones. Thunder Zone increases damage by Thunder units by 30%, shields Shade units by 30% damage-wise, and AF charge-wise, during the AF, you get 10% AF charge, which is like a flash strike stance, so your AFs are longer during the normal AF. But outside AF, it charges less. So keep in mind that only Thunder moves charge it the 5%. Otherwise, other type moves charge only like 1.5, which is not really, I consider it negligible. So in a fully fleshed out Thunder team, you'll definitely want Orleya on your team. She has the potential of helping you support your top Thunder units to do tons and tons of damage with things like 100% speed and power up. She's got a dual debuff of 50% if you need it for power and int for the enemy. She's also got things like she has a hold ground when she's in the front line. She also increases the number of lunatic activations by 1 for your if she's in the front line. There's a long list of things she can do. Now her DPS is low, I will say that, but she can also lock in another zone, which makes your 30% thunder damage 60% double in another zone. And if combined with RCF, guess what? Instead of lasting another zone for 2 turns, it's 4 turns, and RCF himself can activate too. So, you have a lot of abilities if you run a fully fleshed out Thunder team. ES Miyu is more of the DPS for a Thunder team. She has the ability to bypass barriers when doing damage in Thunder Zone. She also has some other cool tricks as well. However, she can VC in Thunder Zone, but cannot establish it through her move. She also has a 3-turn kind of super lunatic where she enhances herself damage-wise, increases her physical defense, and basically burns out at the end of 3 turns and dies. Keep in mind that instead of dying and taking max damage, she can survive with Orleya's Hold Ground, or another form of Hold Ground. So, together, they are a 1-2 punch, which is hard to surpass. In terms of, do you need to summon? Now, this is the crux of the situation. If you're a spender, and you're missing Orleya, because everyone's missing Orleya, and you have lots of stones, by all means summon Orleya. That will round out your team for Thunder Zone, which, remember, you do have to have a full roster of Thunder units in order to really take advantage of it. If you want to use free units, such as the Complex Stream, to make into Thunder, you can do that, but you're losing some coolness and damage. Obviously, the top Thunder units would be things like AS Victor, ES Melina. You even have Silver Striker, and so on and so forth. RCF, don't forget, and Nokoko can be one of those or 2 of those. So that might reduce your requirements for a team. So if you want a Thunder team where you're really concentrating your Thunder damage and doing tons and top tier damage, she is the one for you. And her buffs are amazing. ES Miyu, obviously, she is a secondary prize. She can still do a Thunder Zone setting. However, don't forget, she is able to be upgraded with codexes. And so if you're free to play and strictly free to play, you won't be aiming to summon for ES Miyu, although if you get her as a 10 pull, that'd be fine too, right? The thing is, do we need Thunder Zone yet? Now, I can't say that future content won't require Thunder Zone to wipe out enemies, and I can't say Orleya's bad. She's got the hold ground, she's got the sword, she's got all of that. But the thing is, if you're talking from a strictly free to play standpoint, by having access to ES Miyu, where you can VC in Thunder Zone, you technically would have to say that Orleya would be a luxury pull, albeit she is a massive upgrade in terms of in terms of zone setting abilities. So if you're well off in stones, that is 10k or more, and you don't mind spending a few thousand, go for it. Keep in mind that other powerful future units are available. If you're following the Another Eden Google or wiki, you'll know that Japan has already released some really powerful units, and depending on your planning, if you burn out here, you will not have enough stones and will not recover in time to summon those future banners. So bear that in mind. And so my advice is, unless you specifically want to build a complete Thunder team, and you don't forget, you'll have to have the roster ahead of time, this could be a pass. You can still farm ES Miyu. And I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, but here I am saying it. Now, as for myself, as I hinted at yesterday, I'm only planning to spend a couple of thousand stones on this banner, regardless of if I hit or not, because of the fact that I don't know if I'm going to form a complete Thunder team, and I will technically be able to farm for ES Miyu, for now. And I am saving for future banners that are coming up in Japan as well. Anyways, let me know in the comments below how you've done in the banners if you're summoning. I wish you all great luck. I know that a couple of my sons have already summoned, and some of them have gotten Orleya 4.5, so they are very, very fortunate. So I'm a little bit nervous about myself, but hopefully Gamer Mom pulls it off for me later in the evening, and I'll upload that video, I don't know, whenever I have a chance to. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.